Morning.
Morning.
Eddie, why don't you take a couple minutes to tell us something about yourself?
Okay.
And that way it's a little more personable.
All right. I'm Eddie Leedy. I'm the candidate for District 4 for County Commission. I like bubble baths and long walks on the beach. My wife dared me to say that, so I had to get that in. I'm a lifelong resident of Marion County. My beautiful wife, Tammy, is sitting in the back, and then I brought my son's also here, and then some friends and family. I retired from the Marion County Sheriff's Office 3 years ago. I was a 34-year veteran at the Marion County Sheriff's Office at the time of my retirement. I was a SWAT commander and the mounted unit commander and patrol watch commander. Through the years, I come up through the ranks to the rank of captain. I commanded the HIDTA drug unit, the high intensity drug trafficking area. That's state, federal, county members of law enforcement. I supervised them for 2 years. I also supervised the MADIC unit, the multi-agency drug enforcement task force. And was a property crimes detective, a major crimes detective. I've got a servant's heart, so I retired 3 years ago. Just before retiring, through my career, I received numerous citations, award citations, to include 2 medals of distinction and a medal of valor while I was serving. Probably one of the proudest things was just before I retired, my peers and subordinates voted me in as Patrol Supervisor of the Year, so I had that right towards the end. And you know, my whole life I was mentored by older gentlemen that loved this county and was concerned about things going on in this county, wanted to be involved in it. Like I say, with me having a servant's heart, I'm in that same position. I love this county, love this country, and want to be part of the decision-making process in District 4.
Thank you. And I apologize, I said Bridget was a member. Also, Eddie and his wife are already members of the Trump Club of Marion County, so I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Eddie, question number 1. If you were elected, what are your top 3 priorities as a county commissioner?
My top 3 priorities is one is to establish servant leadership with our employees in the county. Probably my second one is to retain our skilled employees. We have a lot of good qualified employees that work for Marion County that are fleeing here, going to work even for the city of Ocala to get a pay raise. I think we need to do a better job of taking care of our employees. That's one of the best assets this county has, is the people that are running this county. The county's in charge of basically roughly 19 different agencies and departments. And I think sometimes we tend to look at economic growth and things of that nature, which are all great, but at the same token, we've got to look at our county employees, because any growth in this county affects those employees one way or the other. So we need to take a strong look at how we're going to retain these people, get the ones that we have the training they need, get them the money they need to where we can continue to go forward. And then third would be evaluating the building department, and you know, there's been some good improvements over there, but I don't agree with outsourcing. I know at one point the county was outsourcing quite a bit, and everything that they outsourced came back to the building department, and it went straight to employees that went back through the permits and did the same thing that we paid companies to do the outsourcing for. So I'd like to see the county run a little more efficient and not have so much waste there.
Thank you. Eddie, would you please list 3 things you'd cut from the commissioner's budget if you were elected, and why?
All right. Well, when you start talking about cutting, I believe in prioritized budgeting. So when you talk about prioritized budgeting, obviously somebody's got to give up something for somebody else to get something. And it's a tough decision. Sometimes it doesn't make you popular, but you know, I'm running for this office. I'm gonna run hard to get in there. And my thought process is this: the citizens of Marion County, you know, put me in that position, so they trusted in me. So without having full access to county staff yet, but looking through the budgeting process, one of the things I would look at is this outsourcing that we do, to discontinue any outsourcing or payments for that outsourcing. I know that we have engineers that do studies for the county, and then the county also hires outside contractors to do an independent study, and when you lay them on the table, they basically read the same. So I would really look hard at what we're having these engineers do for us, and you know, running all of this paperwork, for lack of a better term, so that when they lay it down on the table, they read exactly the same. Trust your engineers, trust your employees, let them do their job, and we move forward from there and not waste that money.
Thank you. Eddie, please explain your stand, if you were a commissioner, your stand regarding incentives to bring businesses to Marion County.
Well, here's the deal where I'm concerned. We have the CEP, most of you are familiar with the Chamber of Economic Partnership, and they do a pretty good job. They had a 5-year plan. First year, they've met 49% of that plan. So, you know, maybe they should reevaluate. But as a commissioner, I think the way you best help the growth of this county is you take care of your employees, you take care of the people that are bringing that stuff in. I don't think a commissioner's job is to go out and be a contractor or a developer or get too strung out in those areas. Just support the people that have the responsibility to do that job. See to it that if there's things that they need that we agree on as a county, that we help them to be successful. As the old saying goes, you know, let me help you is basically what I think the commissioner's job should be.
Eddie, this is a little lengthy. Please give a brief explanation of the county CNG program, which is compressed natural gas. It's an alternative diesel fuel and gasoline in the county's vehicles. And include, if you can, Eddie, who owns and operates the CNG facility, which sells to the public and the private sector. If you could do that, I appreciate it. And if you need me to repeat the question, I have no problem.
I'm very familiar with the question. Trying to see how to address this. I'm a positive person. I'm trying to run a positive campaign. Compressed natural gas is something that keeps coming up, that went through the commission, that my opponent was very supportive of. And in all fairness, and you can speak with me after the meeting, I think if you want to do the research on it, it's pretty obvious who championed that cause. It's obvious out there who owns the company, and there's rumors out there of who benefited from it. But with me running a positive campaign, you can do the research. If you're unable to do the research, I can point you in the right direction. I was an investigator for many years. Those of you that know about this question maybe know where I'm coming from. Others may think I'm trying to avoid this question, but I'm not trying to avoid it. I'm just trying to run a good, positive campaign.
Thank you, Eddie. Piggyback on that, do you think government should compete with the private sector?
No.
No, I do not. It goes back to what I said. I think your job as a county commissioner is to support the people that do the job in this county. I think when you start competing with private industry, who you're really going to hurt is the small businessman and ladies. You know, we are living in a very changing time. We've got stores all over this county closing down. Amazon and internet shopping has changed pretty much the way we do business. I understand Sears and Kmart are probably the next ones falling victim. They're in the process of closing their stores now. So for county government to be involved in that private sector, I do not agree with.
I thought it was off. Please excuse me.
Might be for me.
Fifth question. Eddie, one of the reasons local governments approve lowest bids is to ensure we get the most bang for our buck. What are your thoughts on the 2011 $20 million taxpayer expenditure for solid waste in Sumter County? That was not put out for bids and is still not being used.
Glenn, you've done your research, haven't you? You know, Marion County basically paid $20 million for our garbage to be disposed of in Sumter County. This was done for something down the road because we're still using our county landfill. And here's the deal. If you look at the numbers that the county produced, and you know, this was an old saying we had when I was at the sheriff's office, numbers don't lie, or figures don't lie, but
It is
liars can figure. When you look at it on paper, they've shown the dollar per pound or dollar per ton, I think, of what it would cost for the county to continue doing business the way they were. I think the other option was sending our garbage to Georgia, which they have done, and the cost of that, and then the cost of going to Sumter County landfill. When you looked at the figures, the Sumter County landfill was the cheapest per ton as far as disposing of our garbage. Now, with that said, you know, I haven't had access to look into the numbers and how these numbers were generated. You know, there's transportation involved, collection, and things of that nature. It's another one of those topics that's come up in District 4 is, you know, is this a good deal or not? I can tell you that the figures say that it's a good deal. How those figures were come to be, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what was calculated in there as far as, you know, it costed more for us to put our garbage in our landfill that still has room for growth and closing that versus going to Sumter County. And once again, if you'd like to talk more about that after the meeting, I'd be willing to talk one-on-one on that.
Thank you. 2 to go, Eddie.
All right.
First responders are a vital part of everyone's safety. I'm sure you're well aware of that.
Yes, sir.
Marion County has become a training ground for entry-level first responders due to low salaries and benefits. What would you do to help keep those that we have invested taxpayer dollars regarding education and training to remain here in Marion County?
Okay. And, you know, my background's public safety, so obviously when you start talking about firemen, EMS, police, those are the folks I work with, the folks I know. Sheriff Billy Woods is a good man, and I think he's made some great strides in trying to take care of his employees. They actually are now starting to get some money. The 1-cent sales tax had a lot to do with that. You know, you as the voter agreed with that. I think Marion County as a whole, you know, strongly supports public safety. That's why that 1-cent sales tax went through. The thing that I don't think is looked at sometimes is obviously public safety is a very big concern of Marion County, but also our county employees. So it goes back to part of my platform, taking care of those that take care of us. You know, there's a bright future for Marion County just for the simple fact the economy's coming back. We've got a president that I believe in. I believe he's going to do great things for our economy. I think things are going to get a lot better for us as far as, you know, the money situation. We went through a recession. We lost a lot of employees. The sheriff's office has slowed down a little bit, but in my closing, I'll discuss a little bit of the 911 communication system and concerns I have with it also.
Last question, Eddie. You touched on it briefly. Do you support taxpayer dollars funding the CEP and why?
You know, and that's a good debate. The CEP, and what you're going to hear a lot with it being a political year, is some people talking about their accomplishments and how economic growth is really striving and the things that they've done, the things they brought in. The CEP is really the engine behind that brings those people to us, and they do the research and find these companies and things of that nature. I'm not sure. I think the funding may have been cut some, but here's the deal, and it's no different than us having a budget in our life. What is the return? You know, if we spend this money, what are we getting in return? And that's one of the things that I would really need to look at to continue the funding there. I have developed a working relationship with some of the folks at the CEP, the same as with commissioners and everything, because I don't want to be that guy that gets elected and have that deer in the headlight looks. I want to hit the ground running, and you know, once in the commission, it can take a look at what is our actual return. I know that FedEx and Chewy and all these people, CEP had a big part of bringing those companies in. Now, what is the tax revenue? What are we bringing in as a return of them being here? I know at FedEx, it was just mentioned in the commission meeting, 50% of the employees that work at FedEx don't live in this county, you know, so.
Thank you.
Question, CDP is an
No,
acronym
hey.
standing for what?
Doctor, we're not, oh, I'm sorry, CEP.
Chamber of Economic Partnership.
Thank you.
Center for,
Chamber. It used to be the old Chamber of Commerce. Now it's
Right.
the Chamber of Economic Partnership.
okay,
Thank you for that question. I hate it when everybody, I not hate, but for some reason acronyms is the way, and the only person that usually knows is the person speaking. So that was a good question, Doctor. I appreciate it. We're ready to wrap up. 3 minutes. Okay. Closing, please.
Well, once again, I'm Eddie Leedy, County Commissioner, candidate for District 4. I touched on it briefly. I'm developing a working relationship with the seated county commissioners. I go to all the county commission meetings, attend those regular to see where we're at, what's going on. The CEP is heavily involved with the commission and our economic growth. I've actually been on one of the radio talk shows that they run with the horses. I'm a professional horse trainer and also still volunteer for the Marion County Sheriff's Office to train the mounted posse as well as train other horses throughout the state of Florida and certify them. I'm a Florida Department of Law Enforcement certified instructor in that. So the communication center was taken about 3 or 4 years ago when Neblock was the county administrator. Him and Sheriff Dean got into a struggle about human resources. The sheriff lost, and we were able to keep human resources at the sheriff's office, but the sheriff lost the communication center, and it went to the Board of County Commissioners. And it's called Marion County Public Safety. Most people still think when you call 911 or 732-9111 that you're talking to the Marion County Sheriff's Office, and that's how you're getting law enforcement to your house, and that's not the case. You're talking to Marion County Public Safety. A lot of people, a lot of agencies or counties are going to that one centralized communication center. Only problem is it costs this county a lot of money, tremendous amount of money, more than what the sheriff's budget was to run the communication center. And here's the deal. I talk to the employees. You know, we talk about figures and looking at them. I go talk to the people that are doing the job. When I talk to the communications officers, they said it's broke. The Ocala Police Department is constantly complaining that the 911 calls, after they ring so far, they shift to the Ocala Police Department. The Ocala Police Department is fielding a tremendous amount of calls of Marion County residents. So obviously Chief Graham has an issue with that, the workload that's going on his communication center and having to answer that. And even though they answer it, they can't send you anybody because they don't have the radios to dispatch those county people to you. That's one of the things that I'm strongly looking at. I've already discussed it with some commissioners. When you talk about, you know, some of the top 3 things that I'd like to do when I'm in office, I feel that needs to go back to the sheriff. I think the sheriff needs to get him a budget together, show that it is cheaper for him to run it and be run more efficiently. So in closing, if August 28th is the primary, I appreciate you folks. Y'all are what I call the informed voters. Unfortunately, in Marion County, a lot of times the uninformed voters are the ones that decide who our politicians are. So you know, as a candidate, win or lose, I really appreciate each and every one of you, whether you vote for me or not, that you're willing to come out to forums, you're willing to get involved, you're willing to learn about your politicians or wanna-be politicians and make good informed decisions. So I appreciate the invite today. It's a beautiful day, and I will stick around and meet with anybody that'd like to ask me any questions individually.
Thank you.